everyone, it's Alyssa. This is Always Cinema Chic, the place that encourages you to stay at home, get dressed up, and watch a movie. So today I'm reviewing Rough Night, and I just want to start by saying, what is going on with comedies? Why is every single comedy that I've seen lately just so awful? They are awful. I feel like I probably haven't seen a truly funny, straight up comedy since I saw The Nice Guys. And I am even more desperate to see a funny movie with women in it. And I feel like that just hasn't even happened since Bridesmaids, and that is so many years old. And unfortunately, that does not happen with this movie. So Rough Night stars Scarlett Johansson, Kate McKinnon, Zoe Kravitz, Jillian Bell, and Ilana Glazer, and it's directed by Lucia Aniello. This movie is slightly better than some of the comedies that I have seen recently. It's definitely better than Snatched, but I did think that Snatched was probably the worst comedy that I've seen all year, and it was slightly better than Baywatch. And the only reason that it was slightly better is because of the cast and the witty cultural commentary that's given by Ilana Glazer. That was really the only reason. Now, Rough Night really feels like a mashup of 4 movies. So it is directly copying the movie Very Bad Things, Weekend at Bernie's, The Hangover, and then they throw in a little bit of Bridesmaids for good measure. Now, I hate Weekend at Bernie's, and I really didn't like Very Bad Things either. So these aren't exactly great movies to be copying, and the fact that it is a direct ripoff of plot with Weekend at Bernie's and Very Bad Things is probably, doesn't bode very well for this movie. So most of the problem stems from the fact that it is just so formulaic. You can predict what is going to happen every step of the way. There is never a surprise throughout the whole film in terms of the plot. So this movie, it's about Jess, who's played by Scarlett Johansson, and she's just about to get married. So she has her best friend Alice, who's played by Jillian Bell, to plan the entire bachelorette weekend in Miami. Now, it seems like this character, Alice, has been waiting for this moment since they were roommates freshman year. So then to round out the group, there is Frankie and Blair, who are played respectively by Ilana Glazer and Zoe Kravitz. These are 2 women who had dated in college, but now we see that Frankie is a full-time activist and Blair is a full-time rich bitch. These girls have definitely changed since their college days. And then to throw a wrench in the whole friend group, there's also Pippa, who's played by Kate McKinnon, and she absolutely steals every scene in this movie. She does this ridiculous, hyperbolic Australian accent, and everything she says is just so sincerely funny that I found that these were the only times that I was really laughing in the movie, is when she was on screen. And so then you get the story where Alice realizes that there is this friendship, this connection between Pippa and Jess, and she just gets totally jealous the second they spend any time together. And I hated that about this movie, because it's like, on the one hand, you want to make a movie that defies gender norms, but then on the other hand, you want to play right into that stereotype. This idea that women just get jealous of other women and that they can't accept their friend having another friend, it's absolutely ridiculous. During the movie, Alice just keeps saying over and over again that Jess is her best friend. She's her best friend and no one else understands. But really, who uses the term best friend after the age of 25? It was honestly so annoying. So then they have this wild night, the women, and they come up with this great idea that they're going to get a male stripper, have him come to the house, and then Alice just jumps on top of him and he hits his head and he dies. It is so obnoxious that the reason this guy dies is because Alice, who would be the, typically overweight one, just is so horny that she jumps on him and kills him because she's overweight. It is downright offensive. And once again, this is a movie that is trying to defy some of these gender norms, and you're kind of fat shaming this woman. So it's too contradictory and it's not funny all at the same time, which is not really a good combination. So even though this movie is only an hour and 40 minutes, I honestly felt like it dragged. So I stopped the movie right after the stripper had died, and it was only 37 minutes in. So I just kept thinking how much comedy can really ensue over the course of the next hour, and that hour did feel like forever. So I would say this, that Frankie and Blair, they do have awesome chemistry, but I really felt like they were in a separate movie. They seemed so much younger, they were concerned with challenging social norms, and they definitely seemed a lot more like millennials. And then you had Jess and Alice and Pippa, and that felt like characters from a movie that was at least 10 years old. So they didn't feel like 29-year-olds, which is exactly what they were supposed to be. So even though I liked the characters, at the same time, I just didn't feel like they had great connections with each other. There are also two subplots that are occurring in the movie. One kind of works and has some moments that, it's funny, but the other one is awful and embarrassing, and I don't even understand why they put this in the movie. So the first one is they do have the cross-cutting with the husband. So there are two subplots that are occurring in this movie. One is okay and kind of makes sense and has some funny moments, but the other one is just straight up awful and uncomfortable. So the first is we do get scenes with Jess's soon-to-be husband, Peter, and he's having a bachelor party at the same time that she's having the bachelorette party, and we keep getting cross-cuts throughout where she and the girls are having these really wild nights, they're going crazy, and then we go back to the guys and they are having wine tasting, and it's all very funny and they seem very boring and dorky, and a lot of the guys there are comedians. There's Hassan Minhaj, and I always think is just so funny. And I did think that the scenes where those guys were together were really funny, and it was a good contrast to what the women were doing. But then there was this awful plot with the neighbors that are next to the girls. And when I say bad, I really mean abysmal. This was terrible. So the neighbors are played by Ty Burrell and Demi Moore, and they could not have been more awkward if they tried. And while that is the point, those characters, they're supposed to be awkward, they definitely could have found a way to play up the camp of the uncomfortable situation rather than just simply being awkward. And I felt like whenever these characters came into the movie, it just stopped the movie dead in its tracks. However, I would say that all 5 of the main women are really funny. The standouts definitely are Kate McKinnon and Ilana Glazer, but for 2 very different reasons. They have 2 very different brands of comedy. So you have Kate McKinnon, who is just so slapstick in her humor. She's over the top, totally exaggerated, but really, really funny. She has a few great scenes. One where she's actually making out with the corpse don't worry, it is actually for a reason. It's a plot device in the movie. It's not just because, you know, she felt like making out with a corpse. And the second she takes one tumble that for some reason I just thought was hysterical. And then there's Ilana Glazer, who is funny for very different reasons. She's such a natural comedian and natural actress, but she's also very witty, subtle, subversive. But I feel like that kind of comedy doesn't go with slapstick. You're not usually slapstick and subversive at the same time. So there definitely is an issue with consistency of tone in this movie. So with that, there's no way that I can recommend this movie and tell you that you should absolutely watch it. In terms of my 2 criteria for rating, I have film and artistry, and for that I would give this movie a C-. It is so formulaic, the plot is so overdone, it steals from all of these movies, Very Bad Things, Bridesmaids, Hangover, Weekend at Bernie's. It just doesn't have anything original of its own to say. But in terms of watchability, which is really how much I enjoyed it, I would give this a C+, bordering on a C, honestly. But it is fun to watch some of these women. There are some funny scenes. I would say that they never really click all together in terms of chemistry, and so there is definitely a coherence issue with the actors, but they still have some decently funny moments. But really, I would just watch Bridesmaids, and I have to say, I am getting so sick and tired of knowing that I'm gonna have a rough night every time I sit down and watch comedy in 2017. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And remember, it is always in fashion to stay at home, relax, and make it a cinema chic night. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.